everyone, welcome back to the second part of our product sales analysis report. In the second part of the video, I'm going to show you how to configure row level security and also assign these roles to external users in your organization in Power BI service. So this video is going to be well detailed because I'll show you how to actually create those users and of course test the roles in Power BI service. So let's get started. So this is the product report that we've created already. If you've not watched the first part of the video, please check the link on the top right corner on that card, or you check the description box to check the first part so you can follow along with this tutorial. So what we're going to do now, I'm just going to go and check the table preview. We're going to preview some of these tables. So basically, row level security just ensures that only authorized individuals have access to a data set at a particular time based on their roles. And the dynamic row level security is just going to help us adjust data based on users' roles. Sometimes I might just use the acronym RLS, which stands for row level security. So let's get on. So right here in our retailer table, so the retailers here are people that are not in our organization, but we've created a report, a sales performance, a product sales analysis report for these retailers, and we want them to view their sales performance for all the sports products that they've sold for the 2 years that we looked at in this data set. So what do? We have to create a column for email. So I'm going to select new column. So for this column, we want to create an email. So this email is just a sample email. These are not the real emails of these retailers. So I'll start with the function, the lower function. I'm starting with this function because I want my email, all the characters in the email to be in lowercase. So I'll start with the lower function. Then I'm going to use substitute function. So with substitute function, I just want to get rid of any space in my email. Of course, if you look at the retailer column, we have some retailers that have space in their name, so we want to get rid of those spaces. Then the next function I'm going to use is concatenate function. So I'm going to use concatenate function. The first argument of concatenate function is going to be the retailer column. So I'm going to type retailer and select it, and the second part is going to be a suffix. So this suffix, like I said, is a sample email, so I'm just going to add at sportsproducts.com. so after adding this, I'm going to close the brackets for concatenate function. Then I'll put a comma, and for the substitute function, the old text, which is the second argument, is going to be the space that we are trying to get rid of, and I'm going to put a comma, and the next argument is the new text, which is going to be no space. So I'll just type double quotes closed without any space. Then I'll close my brackets here. Once I'm done with that, I'm just going to close the lower function. So I'll press enter for us to get our email. So right here, you can see that we've created emails for these retailers. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do after now is just to click on, you can go to model view. So under model view here, so if you click on model view, you can click on model view and come over to where you have security group and configure your row level security. Or you can click on your report view. Right on your report view, if you click on the modeling tab, you still have the security group where you can also configure your RLS. So I'm going to click manage roles. So under this manage roles, in this manage security roles dialog box, I'm going to click new role. So for this new role, we're going to give it a name. So this name we'll type retailers. So that's the name of the role. Then after typing these retailers, we're going to select the tables that we want to filter this this security on. So I'm going to click on the retailer table. I'm just going to click on the retailer table. So this is actually a new dialog box. You can always switch to DAX editor where you have to type, or you just switch to the default editor. So right now I'm just going to use the DAX editor. Then when I switch to my DAX editor, I'm going to type the email. Email is the column in the retailers table that we want to use. So I'm going to put an equal to sign and type user principal name. After typing this user principal name, this is all we need to do for now. Along the course of the lesson, we may need to come back to desktop to do some external mapping. So for now, this is all we need to do, and I'm going to click save. Once I click save, I'll quickly close this dialog box. So on that page, you can create as many roles as possible. So when I close that dialog box, what I'm going to do, I'll come back to the security group under the modeling tab and click view as. On this view as dialog box, we want to test this role in Power BI desktop. So what I will do is to select retailers and select other users. Selecting that will give us a box to type in the particular user principal name that we need to use and test this role. So right here, I'm going to type, one of the emails is amazon@sportsproducts. I'll type amazon@sportsproducts.com. After typing this, I'm going to click OK. And once I click OK, you can see that this data is showing now viewing as retailers Amazon as sports products. So this data is specifically for only Amazon. So this is what we want. We don't want the retailers to see the data for other retailers. We want them to see for only their sales. We don't want them to see the sales of other retailers. So this has filtered to show us the sales of only Amazon. So I will click here to stop viewing for now. So there's something we need to do. So we are going to create a measure. So this measure, we want that when the retailers click or come to view their particular data, there'll be an inscription above telling them this is their dashboard. Right here, I'm going to expand the data pane. So under this data pane, we are going to create a measure. So I'm going to click on this measure. I'm going to click there and select new measure. So we are going to create a measure named logged in as. So I'm going to type the name of the measure. I'm going to type the name of the measure and we'll use our if statement. So after typing our if statement, I'll press shift and enter, bring it to the second line, and we want to use answering value. So answering value will return true when the email is filtered to only one within the email column. So I'm going to type our email. I'll just type our email, close the bracket, and then put a comma. Then I'll press shift and enter. Then we'll use the values function. So with this values function, I'm going to input our retailer. I'll type our retailer. After typing our retailer, I'll close the bracket and then use an ampersand. So with this ampersand, I'll include a quote and then space and type dashboard. So after typing the dashboard, I'm going to type a comma and then I'm going to include another double quote. Then I'll press shift and enter and close the bracket. Basically, what this measure says that if answered value returns true for a single email that has been filtered within the email column, it should show the values of the retailer, including concatenated with this dashboard. If answered value returns false, that means more than multiple emails are being returned, then it should show blank. So basically, this is what this measure should do. So I'm going to turn off the measure. The next thing we are going to create is a card visual. So I'm going to select this card visual and then I'll readjust it to this point. After readjusting this card visual, we're going to add the measure we just created, which is logged in as. After adding the measure, we'll have to format this card. So in formatting this card, I'll bring in the format pane, go to size and style. Then under size and style, I'll toggle off the background. And after toggling off the background, I'll come out to the color value. Then I'm going to reduce the color value to 30. I'll also change the color to one of the colors on our report. So I'm going to use that color. And then for the category label, I'm going to toggle it off. We don't want to see the category label. So what I'm going to do, I'll just duplicate this card. I'll copy it and go to the next page. And also paste it here. So let me show you how this card works. So if I'll come back to modeling tab and click view as. So under this view as, I'll select other users and retailers. We'll check for another retailer here. Where's Gear at Sports Products. So westgate@sportsproducts.com, then I'm going to click OK. So once I click OK, you can see Westgate dashboard showing here. Let me bring this down a bit so you see what I'm saying. So this is showing Westgate dashboard. So this is what we want. Once the retailer logs in to view their data, we want this heading to show their name, so they will know that this data they are looking at or they are viewing is their personal data, not other retailers. So I'm just going to click stop viewing, and that's basically all we need to do. And I'm just going to click to save this current report. After saving this report, the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to open my browser and log into my Power BI service. So if you don't have a Power BI service account, you can get a free one. So this is my Power BI service account. I'll come over to this other pane and click on workspaces. So under workspaces, I'll scroll down to select a new. We want to create a new workspace for this tutorial. So I'm going to name this workspace Sports Product Sales. So I'll type Sports Product Sales. So you can give a description to your workspace. You can even assign a domain, add a workspace image, or you can go to advanced and maybe include people. So I'm just going to click to apply this workspace. After creating this workspace, the workspace has opened, but right now nothing is here. So I'll go back to my Power BI desktop. Remember to save your report. Under Power BI desktop, I'm going to click on Home tab, and then we'll come to the share group. I'll click to publish. Once I click to publish this, I'm going to select the new workspace that we just created. Then I'll select it and publish this report to Power BI service. So you can open this report here. So it has shown success, meaning that we have our reports there. You can open the reports through that link, but since I've already turned off mine, I'll just go back to my browser. Under my Power BI service, I'll click here to reload this page. So once I reload this page, you can see our Sports Product Sales workspace has the product sales analysis report. So I can click to open this particular product sales analysis. So this is the reports that we have right now in our workspace. So the next thing we are going to do is to assign these roles to the different users. So I'll go back, I'll click to go back. And right here, you can see that once you publish your report to Power BI service, it comes in with your semantic model. So I'm going to click these 3 ellipses, and then I'll click on security. So we want to add the email address of our retailers. So I'm going to start typing Amazon. So after typing this, it will show us that this email is not within our organization. This is because we've not created the retailers as users. So what you need to do right on your Power BI service, just click on this icon. Once you click on this icon, you scroll down to select admin. So my admin center is going to open up. Then I'm going to come over here and click users. Then I'll scroll to select guest users. So under this guest user, I'm going to click here to add a guest user. Once I click that to add a guest user, it's going to open up an Azure portal. So on my Azure portal page, it's telling me I can create a user. So if you create a new user, that means you're creating an internal user in your organization. But if you invite a user, you're inviting a guest user to collaborate with your organization. So I'm going to click to invite a guest user. So we'll scroll down, and from the example here, we're going to give the guest user a name and of course email of the guest user, the email address. Then I'm going to scroll down. You can also type a personalized message for this particular user. For example, I just said, welcome to Rimas Consulting. You're invited to view your sports product sales performance. Once you're done with that, let's just scroll down to check other things we can add. So, okay, you can also add the usage location, but that one too is optional. Then you now click to invite this user. So once you click to invite, by the top right corner here, it's going to show inviting user, and of course it has successfully invited the user. To view this user, I'm going to click on view. Once I click on view, under manage, I'm going to select users. So right now, Amazon that we just added is the user that has displayed here. But in this case, we have more than one retailer. We have up to 6 retailers, and sometimes you can even have guest users more than 100, and you need to share this report with them. So what do? We have to add these users in bulk. Under this users page here, we'll come to where we have bulk operation, and we're going to click this drop down. I'll select the bulk invite. So under this bulk invites, there's a template that you need to download. The template download is optional, but I'll advise you to download it because it will show you a sample of how to add your users. So I'm going to click to download this template. So after downloading this template, I've opened it up in my Microsoft Excel. So I'm going to expand this. It's a CSV template. So this is the sample that we're going to use. For this template, do not change anything in the first and the second rows of this template. If you do, when you're trying to add your users, you might get some errors. So do not change anything, and also do not add any other columns to what you have here. If you add those columns, it may be discarded because those ones are not important. So these are the important things. The only thing you need to change is from the third row, because these are just examples of what you need to do. So right now I'm going to add one of the users, westgear@sportsproducts.com. So this is one of the users, westgear@sportsproducts.com. I'll press enter. Then the link, redirection URL, is the link we want them to view when they accept this invitation. In order to get the link, I'll go back to my report. I'll go back to my browser. I'll select to open this particular report. I'll come back to my browser. When I select to open this report, I'll click on share. Then under share, I'm going to click to copy this link. I'll copy the link and close this dialog box. Go back to my Excel. Once I come back here, I'm going to edit this and add the link. So this is the link I want them to view when they accept this invitation. Then for the customized invitation message, I'm just going to replace it with a customized invitation message that I want my retailers to see. So this is how you can create the first one. I'm going to type the email address of the other retailers, but I'll skip this part. So right here, I'm done adding the email addresses of our retailers. If you notice, I've not added Amazon because we created that particular user. We invited that particular user individually. So I'll just come over here to save this template. And right here, we're going to go back to our Azure portal. Under this part where we're trying to invite bulk users, the next thing I'll do is to click and upload that particular file. Then I'll click here and open this file. So it has shown file uploaded successfully. We need to click submit. Once you click submit, you just wait for some few seconds because it's actually in progress. But if you're adding or inviting a lot of users, just know that it might take some time for it to actually be successful. So here we can see bulk operation succeeded. Okay, so our bulk operation is successful right now. I can just refresh this page. So once I refresh this page, you can see that our users have been added. So our external users have been added. So after adding these external users, the next thing we need to do is to go back to our admin center. So right here on the guest users page, if I also refresh it, you see that we have new users here. The next thing I want to do now is to assign license to these guest users. Okay, so sometimes the guest users that you're inviting to collaborate with you may have license or they may not have license. So note that if they do not have license, they will not be able to access the report on your Power BI. And if you have licenses to grant them access to, you can actually grant them access to your own license. So what we'll need to do is to click on active users. Once I click on active users, I'm going to select the external users that we created. So I'll select all the external users. We have about 6 of them. So I'm going to select here, and right here, I'm going to click on manage product licenses. So under manage product license, you can actually unassign license that you've given to users, and you can even assign more license to them. So I'm going to select more. Then out of these licenses, I want to give them license to Microsoft Fabric because that is where they can access the Power BI report that we created. So after that, I'm just going to click to save changes. Once I save these changes, you can see that licenses have been assigned to them, and right on this column you can see the license that these external users have access to. So next, one thing I also need to do is I want to create groups for our users, so that when we are creating this row level security, we don't need to add the users individually with their emails. So I'm going to select active group. Under this active group, I'll select security groups. We are going to create security groups for them. So I'm going to add a new security group. So this new group, we'll call them retailers. We'll call the new group retailers. You can add a description. So you can add a description for the group. That one is optional. You can click next, and then we are going to create group. So after creating this group, I'm going to close this. So we have a new security group. Then we have to add members to this security group. So I'm going to click this group. So once I click, of course, you can see where you can add the group owners, and you can see where to add members. So I'm going to select members, and then I'll click view all and manage members. So we want to add members here. Once you select add member, it's going to show you the users that you have in your organizational tenant. So I'm going to select the members that I want to add here. So I'm going to select all the retailers. I'm going to select all the retailers. So right here, I've selected all the retailers. There are 6 retailers. So I'm going to add 6 members to this particular security group called retailers. So we now have members in this group. So after completing this, we'll go back to our Power BI service. So right here, I'll click back on my sports products workspace. Then I'll come over to our semantic models. Remember the part where we needed to create row level security. So I'm going to select that and select security. So under this security, you see why we needed to create groups. Instead of typing the individual addresses of these guest users, we will just type the security group name that we created for them, and of course our security group will display, and I'm going to click to add. Then I'll click here to save this security group. So after adding the security group, another thing I need to do is to give read permission. We should have done that first, but we can still do it now. So under where we have the reports with this icon, this is the report. I'm going to select these more options, and then I'm going to click on manage permissions. So under this manage permissions, we want to give direct access to this particular users. So I'm going to turn off allow recipients to share this report and allow recipients to build content with this report. So I'll type our retailers. So our retailers is going to show, then I'll grant them access. So this access tool will also send them email notifications. So when you apply row level security, it's important that you give those particular users read permission only. There are several permissions. You can give them write permission, reshare, and even build permission. But any permission apart from read permission, row level security will not be applied to those users. So take note of that. So after giving those read permission, we'll come back to our semantic model in the workspace, click here, and then go over to security. So since we've already added the retailers, I'm going to click here to test this role. So right on this page, I'm going to select for a particular retailer. So we're going to type Amazon, then we'll click to apply. So basically, this is what row level security does. It just ensures that unauthorized users cannot access data that they are not supposed to access. So right now, Amazon is not showing. Amazon is a retailer, but there's a problem that we're facing. So if I come over to my admin center and click on guest users, you can see the email address have some external mapping to the organization. That is my organization tenants that I used in inviting them. But this is not their original email address. The invite I've gotten to the original email address, but in Power BI, under the hood, it just kind of maps it to this, and this is what it's using as the current UPN. So what we need to do is to do some kind of external mapping in our Power BI desktop, because when the user comes to view this, as we are trying to test this role currently, now we can't test it because it's not showing the exact UPN that we have in our guest user. So what we need to do, we'll just go back to our Power BI desktop. So this one is just configuration because we want to test and see the roles in our Power BI service. But for the users, once they log in, they'll be able to log in because these invite emails have gotten to them. So they'll be able to log in and view their sales reports. So what we need to do, we'll come back to our table view in the Power BI desktop. And under the table view, I'm going to click on retailers table. So under this retailers table, we need to create a new column. So we're going to map emails of these external users. Just the purpose of this is just for role testing. So what I'm going to do, I'll just give it a name, UPN. That's user principal name. So this UPN column, the function we need to use is concatenate function. I'm going to start with concatenate function. Then I'll also use the substitute function. This substitute function is just to get rid of any space within our data. So under substitute function, I'll use lower, of course, to make the text lowercase. So for the text, we're going to use the retailer name. So this is the retailer name we are going to use, and I'm going to close the bracket, then put a comma. For the second argument of substitute, the old text will be the space that we want to get rid of, and the third argument, the new space, is just no space. That's for the third argument. I'm going to close the brackets for the substitute function and put a comma. So the second argument for this concat function, we're going to map it to the suffix of that our organizational tenant. So what I'm going to do is I'll type here underscore sports products. So I'm going to add this suffix of our organizational tenant, which is underscore sportsproducts.com, and all of these other extensions right here. So once I'm done with that, I'll just press enter. So we've created a new column now for UPN in our retailers. Remember, this is just for role testing for you as the owner of that organization. Okay, so after doing that, I'll come back to my reports view and I'll come over to the modeling tab. Under the modeling tab, I'll click on manage roles because we need to edit that particular role. So I'm going to select the retailer table. So here we add the data we're filtering was emailed to their user principal name. We are going to add another clause. We're going to add this stroke sign. That's the or operator. So after adding that, we'll also add UPN equal to user principal name. So this is just what we need to do, and then I'll click save. Once I click save, I'm going to turn that off. Then I'm going to also save this particular report. Once I save this particular report, I have to republish it to Power BI because we've edited the semantic model. We've edited the data set by adding a new information. So I'm going to click to publish. Once I click to publish, I'll select my sports product sales workspace, and then it's going to republish. Since we republished it already, we need to click on replace. So our report has been republished. We'll go back to our workspace and just reload this page. So after reloading this page, we need to try and test these roles again. So I'm going to come to our semantic model here and click on this. Then we'll click security. And then under security, I'm going to select test as roles. Then I'm going to click here and select a particular user. So let's say I type Amazon at sports products and I apply this. Once I apply this, you can see that Amazon dashboard is currently showing. I remember the card visual that we added. It is showing Amazon dashboard. So Amazon retailers, once they come to view this particular report, they know that this dashboard is theirs. So basically, that was why we needed to do that external mapping, just for us to view it in Power BI service. Okay, but the users, once they click on that particular link, that invite link, they'll be able to access this report only if the row level security was applied to them. So we can also test another user. Let's say we want to test Westgear and we'll select this. We'll just click to apply. So you can see that we are currently viewing Westgear dashboard. You can also click to go to the next page of Westgear dashboard, and all these details are only for Westgear. So that is how you can configure dynamic role level security and also assign these roles to users. If you have internal users in your workspace, make sure if you want them to actually view this data set, you have to give them viewers permissions. You have to give them viewers roles in your workspace. If not, it's not going to work. Let me show you what I mean. So if I select another user, which is me, I'm going to select my name and then click to apply. So right now, role level security will not be applied to me because I have the access rights to, I have permissions to write, build, and even reshare this report. Basically, I'm the admin of this organization, so I can actually view this report. That is why I say you have to set only read permissions to people that RLS is applied to. Thank you so much guys for following up with this tutorial from the first part where we created the dashboard up until this second part. I am very sure that you learned something from this video. If you have any question, you can always drop it in the comment section and I will answer it as soon as possible. So thank you so much.